if we're removing C players, underperformers, or don't line up with the core values, or both, we must have a system replaced with people who have the core values and are going to exceed performance. Welcome to Tip Top Grow Up Your Business with Metronomics. Join me, Shannon Susko, and Metronomics certified coach Jed Roberts.
We'll be talking to business thought leaders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business team coaches who have all taken the journey to grow up their businesses to their tip top.
We'll be sharing strategies, systems, stories on how you can grow your company up at the speed you want.
If you're searching for your path to the tip top and feel your time is running out, then this podcast is for you.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We are in a great place today with two other coaches, so three coaches in a room. We've got Jed Roberts and Ian Judson with me today, and we're in Sydney, Australia, which is a great place to be, I think. I want to talk today and get insights from both Ian and Jed on looking at things through the coach's lens. It's what we see. You know, we as coaches are known, Metronomics coaches are known as the blind spot remover. So we do have a lens that we look through. And with the Metronomics Growth operating system, it gives us a great way to actually show others what it looks like from our point of view. And we see a lot of things that others will miss because they are in the room, but they're just not looking at it from the same perspective, that same lens as what we're looking at it. So Jed, coaching through Metronomics, we know, is more than just teaching a framework. We're not teaching a framework. We're coaching, we're guiding, we're asking the right questions at the right time. And it's really about guiding behavioral evolution. What's one mindset shift you try to create in your CEOs during the process? And this isn't just a process, it's implementing this ongoing growth system.
Yeah. So I think that the mindset shift that I find probably the most important probably happens a little bit before then. And I'm a firm believer, if someone doesn't think they need to be coached, then they don't need to be coached because they can't be coached. So this whole notion of, coachability, if someone is not coachable, then don't try and coach them. So you've either got to try and shift their mindset to get them to realize that they need to be coached, or that even better, that they want to be coached, because the two are still not the same.
Yes.
So for me, that's a really big mindset. And luckily that's a really good filter, because if you meet someone, they're not coachable, then you just keep on walking, because no matter what you do, no matter how much effort you put in, it's not going to get you where you need to get to.
Yeah.
So having that perspective of coachability, I think, is probably the absolutely key thing. And that comes first. You can only start working with someone when you're A, they can be coached, and B, they want to be coached.
Yeah.
Because those are two things. The other mindset that I think that takes a big shift is the leader realizing that they don't have to do everything themselves, particularly around strategy. It is the mindset shift is that CEOs suddenly start to realize, well, actually, we can come up with a better strategy, a more inclusive strategy, a strategy that everyone is probably going to get on board more if we all work on it together. I ran a kickoff a few weeks ago, and one of the leadership team members, relatively new into the business, came up to me afterwards and said, I've been in business for 25 years, and this is the first time someone has actually asked me to contribute to targets for a company. This is just so empowering.
Wow.
And I'm bought in, I'm committed, because I've had a part to play in building this. So once the CEO gets their head around that concept, that the strategy will be better if the leadership team builds it rather than if they build it themselves.
Yeah, that's huge. Huge. Ian, do you have anything to add to that in thinking about, the shift you're creating with the CEOs that you're working with, from kickoff and then all the way through?
Yeah, I guess, when I'm coaching teams early on in the phase of our engagement, part of it, I guess, is the release of the pressure from the CEO that they have to be the smartest person in the room or have all the answers. And so I guess one of the key behaviors of mindset shifts we really want to create. And the CEO's like, you don't have to have all the answers ready to go to respond to your team every time we do it.
Yeah.
And at the side, actually, part of what we're trying to do is get the value of all of the intellect of the team. So we're trying to get the team brain, the whole thing together, and then the answers will be in there. So the role of the coach, again, and to sort of demarcate, I guess, our role is that we're not there to give you the answers either.
No.
We're really there just to ask the questions.
Yes.
And help the CEO get the combined intellect of the team to sort through those issues with that sort of perspective. So that's probably a big mindset shift.
And it's almost a relief, right? Because the CEOs have felt they had to come up with a strategy by themselves, right? They have to explain the strategy. They have to tell people what to do, and they have to have all the answers. Like, who could do that, right? And I love how you just described we're there to create the environment in order to, ask those questions, collaborate. And that collaborative brain is really important. And I do think it's a relief to the CEO, especially when we get to the, and when we're working in the strategy system and we're working in the 3HAG. It's amazing. They do have ideas. And I know as a CEO, I had a lot of ideas. But I'd go into the meeting thinking my ideas were really good, but I'd come out with so much better ideas, right? That's as a CEO. And then as a coach, I love, raising that bar and just providing that relief to the CEO for sure. It's such a game-changing moment. Now, we know everything isn't smooth sailing. Right. We love our work. We love going in and working with the CEOs and leadership teams. We love getting results. But what parts of the system do teams typically resist the most? And how do you help them push through? I'm going to ask you that one first.
I think for me, most teams will do okay on the execution and the cash because there's so much literature around those systems that most people get. And so you don't see the struggle there. But once you start getting into the strategy, there's a little bit of hesitation around the uncertainty with that as it applies to their circumstances. But honestly, the most sort of gap that I see is probably in that human system. And it really is trying to get the understanding of how we work together as a team.
Right.
And for me, that's where you see a lot of, I guess, the blockers come up naturally.
Yes.
And people get uncomfortable about this new feeling of accountability and and also the vulnerability aspect of being able to build that trust. Because we know we want to get the team to that team trust 2.0 element, and trying to explain that to new teams is difficult because we've got to get them to that foundation level where, they're just comfortable being able to call each other out on things.
Yes. Well, what are your thoughts in thinking about some of those, systems the teams typically resist?
Yeah, I think I agree with Ian. I think that the other area that I often see teams struggle with because it's hard is getting to their 3 to 5 differentiators.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, and that's just hard. So first attempt is probably not very good, and the second attempt is probably a bit better, and it's probably really the third attempt where things really start sort of coalescing and solidifying and being things that people can wrap language around confidently. Because if you can't express that in language, then you've just got a few sticky notes on a piece of paper. The other area is, and I often get pushback on this, and it often takes about 6 months to push through, is mapping out the 36 months. P&L, because they're taking what they've always considered a financial job and integrating that into the overall business in terms of the widgets that you need to drive those finances at the end of the day. And it's just not a comfortable place. And they often don't have confidence that what they're doing is right. And it may not be yet.
Yes. And so just for the listeners, we have 7 systems in our repeatable playbook. We have the cultural system, we have the cohesive, we have the human system, right? And those are what we call our soft edge systems. And then we have our hard edge systems, strategy, execution, and cash. And then we have the absolute, sort of the game changer system of the Coach Cascade, which allows when a team starts to create that momentum that they're looking for, a way to grow their team in a way that it can keep up with the growth of the organization. So when we think of the 7 systems, depending where your business is, which growth phase you're in, foundation, momentum, or compounding, some take to those systems a little easier than others, right? And it has to do with just where they are. Which system do you think gets underestimated, and why is it more powerful than people think? That's a big question. Which system do you think gets underestimated, and why is it more powerful than people think?
I think for me, the cultural system is that element. And again, when we look at some of the elements of that cultural system around things like the BHAG and some of those other things that are the bigger picture, and that's where it gets hard. People get a little bit uncomfortable when we do the values exercise a little bit too, and the core purpose. You quite often get teams wanting to revisit that regularly because they just don't have the confidence in, I guess, some of the outcomes that they get when doing that work. And so for a lot of the teams that I've been working with, we'll do a good set of values and roll that out.
Yes.
But then there's this hesitation about sticking to it. And some of those questions around, would you fire someone if they offended a value and those sort of, that's where it gets really hard. And I think for me, they're the hallmarks of the behaviour change. And so if we can't get the cultural system really following along at the level we need, because sometimes it gets too neglected. I think when we're doing the work, we tend to skip over that a little bit, either because of the team dynamic or where they're at in their own thoughts. So that would be my answer.
And it also gets skipped over because everyone thinks it's too soft and squishy, and is it really that important? I love that you pulled that out because it's the foundation of your who. It's the foundation of your A player. It's should someone be on the team or not on the team, but it also ties so tightly to the human system, our hiring, our coach, keep, grow, and then who should be on our bench, right? Our virtual bench. What are your thoughts? Or did Ian steal that one?
Oh, look, that's okay. He went first. Yeah. For me, it's actually a little bit different. And for me, it's the Coach Cascade system. It's the Coach Cascade system that gets skipped over because a lot of people struggle to make the transition from a manager to a leader. And then going from a leader to a coach often takes them beyond their capabilities, which is really, really uncomfortable. Because when we're getting to that that point where, the Coach Cascade system is really starting to roll out, we want to be compounding revenue and profit, but we also want to be compounding a team. And they often can't learn fast enough. They often can't learn as fast as they need to get to that point where, it is they're coaches rather than leaders, and certainly not managers anymore. It just takes people beyond where they can go off.
Yeah. And I'd say the sneaky part of, I was thinking about the answer to this question is, I think the one that is the system that I think about it's in the human system, it's the hiring system, and it connects, all of it together is if we're removing, C players, underperformers, or don't line up with the core values or both, right? We must have a system replaced with, people who have the core values and are going to exceed performance. So that's the one that I think gets wholly underestimated. And I've been spending a whole lot of more time as of late with my clients ensuring that that hiring system is dialed in so they can hire A players, be confident they have A players, and then, people who can keep up and running how fast they're running right now. Okay, last question. Metronomics isn't just about the businesses we serve. We know that. Metronomics is a book, a community, a company, a way we do things. It's a strategic growth operating system. We can go on and on and on. But we just had our 2-day coach days in Whistler, right? We brought in coaches from around the globe. We're going to do another day here in Australia as well with all the coaches here. And we know that this system has transformed us too, right? So how has the system changed the way you show up as a coach and a leader because, you're leaders in our Metronomics coach community, and you coach everyday companies that, looking to make that impact with them, and they can make an impact in their market, in their community, in their family. How has the system changed the way you show up?
Well, I do recall the first training we ever did in Australia, Shannon, which you might want to self-admit wasn't that flash when we're doing it. But now we are, 5-6 years on, I guess, from that event. We're now getting to a place where I think there's so much more confidence in what we're delivering. And I think it's through the results that we're seeing through the clientele that adopted as a system. And as a coach, having that comfort, knowing that the system does really work and we can see the results, is something now that is beneficial to me as a coach. And the supporting platform, I think, for me is the game changer. It's the way I describe, I guess, how my coaching skills developed with the intersection of Metronomics coming into that kit bag of tools that we've got. It just helped develop the team so much easier when you had that, and being able to see
the visibility,
doing what they were doing, to me was the key element. So as you say, it's a whole package, but to me, it's integrating the whole platform, that accountability platform between the coach and the CEO and the rest of the team, has really been, I guess, the key element for me.
Which really drives the confidence, right? You know it's going to get results. You know that you can see what's happening. You can actually, plan out the next moves, right? With confidence. How about you?
Yeah, it's exactly the same for me. I mean, I now have confidence that whatever happens in any client session, I know the question to ask. I know what we're going to cover off next if there's a problem that needs solving. I know which tool I need to pull out, and where it fits within the overall system and what the sequence is. And just having that confidence means, first of all, you don't have to spend so much time prepping. Now you can just rock up and go, because you know what's coming next, and you've probably done it 20 times before, so you don't need to prep, you don't need to practice for it. So it's having that confidence. When I know that whenever I meet a new potential client, I can ask him 3, 4, 5 questions and straight away get to the root cause of the problems in the business. Now, they might not want to acknowledge that, but we can get there really, really quickly. You know what to ask.
No, I appreciate both those answers, because I can think back in a couple situations where, when I first asked to coach this system, when it wasn't known as Metronomics, when it was 2012, and we had great success with this system, and I was asked to come in to coach, and never did I ever think I'd be coaching this system into a business, and I showed up for that, explaining to the CEO who really wanted the system. They had observed the system, going, I don't think it'll work for you. We've come so far from that. And even right up to the first training of coaches happened in Melbourne, Australia, like to coach, to teach, to like what I call coach the coach. That was another one of those moments that you show up and you have to, be able to share the system. And it has come such a long way in regards to knowing that it doesn't only work for me as a CEO, for me as a coach and just my clients. It works for all the coaches around the world and, thousands of companies that go along with it. So I want to thank you both for being here today, sharing your view, your lens on coaching. It's hugely beneficial. I hope the listeners tuning in walked away with thinking about, what is it that you're not seeing? What is your blind spot? Because that's what we're here to do, to help remove blind spots, speed it up, and provide you with this repeatable system that's going to get you to where you want to go, not where you've been. With that, thank you both, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Shannon. Tip Top is brought to you by Metronomics.
To find out more about Metronomics and how this proven 20-year-old system will save you time and money as you grow up your business,
visit metronomics.com. That is metronomics.com.
Share your thoughts on today's episode in the comments and suggest topics you'd love us to explore the next time.
Also search for Metronomics in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else that great podcasts are found.